webinar series on use cases in federated API management. Our aim in these webinars is to dive deeper into the specific use cases that may drive organizations to adopt federated API management. We have previously discussed the use case moving to the cloud, which you can watch on our YouTube channel. If you've already seen a previous webinar, you can skip the introduction here, and to do so, you can simply use the chapters on this video that appear below. Today, we will solely focus on the use case of unified API catalogs and governance. As you may know, there is a growing trend towards having a single source of truth for your APIs. And that's exactly what the unified API catalog can provide. This use case showcases how federated API management can be the solution that brings all your APIs together in one central location, making it easier for consumers to access and manage their APIs. Before we dive into the use case, let's start with a quote from a recent market guide for API gateways from Gartner. And according to this report, gateways are becoming a commodity and organizations are looking for a management layer instead of another gateway. This is absolutely in line with what Mark O'Neill, VP Analyst at Gartner, talked about at the API Days in Paris last year. He mentioned that people want to do all kinds of things with their gateway, and they may have different requirements they try to handle with the gateway, which can result in a giant gateway saurus. And this gateway saurus is difficult to manage. This is why there is a trend towards bring your own gateway, where organizations have their own gateways and only want a management layer on top of them. But let's take a look at how this might apply to your organization. Many companies may have a similar setup like I have on this slide here. May have various tools that work together with or around APIs. These services are typically included in full lifecycle API management, but most companies don't utilize all of them. This can result in multiple networks of mesh services that work together, making it really difficult to keep track of the source of truth for your APIs. That's exactly where federated API management comes in. By implementing a single source of truth at the center of your API landscape, you can keep track of the APIs and their execution, directly tying into your API roadmap and strategic goals. This core here is essential as it is responsible for discovering, provisioning, and securing all of the APIs. All the rest of these tools and services, they can be interchangeable depending on the team's needs and requirements. And as we just heard from Gartner, the gateway is becoming a commodity too. So the gateway too will be interchangeable and replaceable with the best fit for your scenario. So bringing federated API management into your organization brings numerous benefits. Firstly, you can catalog and manage access to all APIs in one central location, improving the developer experience and driving adoption. This central location allows developers to easily see if an API already exists, how it works, and access it, instead of searching multiple portals. This shortens the time to value and improves the developer experience as they don't have to waste their time searching for information. Secondly, you can automate APIs on any platform, simplifying complexity and reducing costs. With federated API management, you can provision, change, and version your APIs in all environments, reducing manual work and enabling your platform operations team to handle these tasks. Thirdly, you can ensure security and compliance across all APIs with a single set of policies and procedures. This makes it quite easier to monitor and enforce security and compliance, reducing the risk of security breaches and ensuring that your APIs meet industry standards. And of course, you can have better visibility and control over the APIs with real-time analytics and monitoring. You can easily see how your APIs are performing and identify any issues, making it easier to optimize their performance and ensure they meet the needs of your organization. Overall, federated API management is ensuring that your APIs are secure, compliant, and performing optimally. With a single source of truth at the center of your API landscape, you can manage access to all APIs, automate them, and ensure security and compliance, all while reducing complexity and costs. This is exactly where our product, the APIIDA API Control Plane, comes in. The API Control Plane empowers you to utilize federated API management to its full potential and serves as the single source of truth in your ecosystem. So Let's step into how this fits with the use case we're talking about today: unified API catalogs and governance. As organizations move towards multi-cloud and cross-platform environments, it becomes increasingly important to have a centralized and consistent approach to cataloging, automating, and managing APIs across multiple gateways, basically meaning federated API management. This is the point where unified API catalogs and governance really come into play. Because a lot of companies, they miss out on the true business value of their APIs. Despite investing time and resources into creating the APIs, they still struggle to realize their full potential. But what if I told you there's a solution to unlock this full potential? The answer is pretty simple. Make them more consumable. Making it easy for consumers to find, adopt, and consume your APIs. Let's take a closer look at what this means. First is find, and that's a crucial first step in the process of using APIs, as it allows consumers to discover the different APIs that are available for their use. With an effective API catalog, consumers should be able to search for APIs using keywords or filters, making it easy for them to find the APIs that meet their specific needs. A well-designed API catalog should also provide clear and concise information about each API, such as its purpose, features, and available endpoints, of course. This allows consumers to quickly evaluate whether an API will meet their needs before they start the process of adopting to it. The second step is the adoption. And this is the step where consumers prepare to use the API they've found. Self-service enrollment is a key aspect of this step, as it allows consumers to quickly and easily enroll in the API without having to go through a long and complex approval process. A sandbox environment is also a critical component of this step, as it provides consumers with a safe and secure environment to test their code and experiment with it in the API. This allows consumers to become familiar with the API and to test the integrations before using the API in a production environment. The third step is the step of consuming. It's the final step in the process where consumers actually use the API to access the data or services they need. And in order to do this effectively, consumers need access to clear and meaningful documentation and, for example, how-to guides. This documentation should provide step-by-step instructions on how to use the API, as well as details on how to access specific endpoints and data. Additionally, consumers need access to up-to-date specifications so they can ensure that their code is using the API correctly. This is particularly important for APIs that are constantly evolving, as changes to the API can cause compatibility issues for consumers. Overall, the process of finding, adapting, and consuming APIs is critical for developers who want to build new apps or integrate existing apps with external data or services. You might even use them only internal. It doesn't matter. The experience is the same, and it's what matters. And by providing consumers with the tools and resources they need to effectively use your APIs, API catalogs and developer portals help to support innovation and growth in the whole industry. But let's bring this to life for once and look at an example together. Imagine if you have the task to build a new mobile app that allows users to track their daily calorie intake, for example. This is just one use case you could think of. It's millions of them out there. And to do this, to give users the possibility to track their daily calorie intake, you need access to a database of food information, including calorie counts for different foods. So first step, to find the right API for your needs, you would use an API catalog to search for APIs that provide food information. So again, this catalog should allow you to search them, for example, using keywords such as food information or calorie counts. And after finding several APIs that meet your needs, you can compare the features and available endpoints to determine which API will work best for you. Because that's what you want. You don't want any API, you want the one that works best for you. Once you found the right API, the next step is to adopt, as we just talked about it. You can enroll yourself testing in a sandbox environment, can quickly sign up, subscribe, receive your API key, and with your API key in hand, you can then test the API in a sandbox environment, where you can then experiment with the different endpoints and the data to see what you get out of this API. And then the final step is to consume the API by using it to really access the data and services you need. And again, you need documentation to do this. And for example, the API you found might have a documentation page that provides detailed instructions on how to use the API, including information on how to access the calorie count information for different types of foods. So with all of this information at hand, you can then integrate the API in your app and start providing users with the information they need to track their daily calorie intake. This example, as I said, one of millions, can be applied to all possible use cases. But what does it actually mean to have a unified API catalog to make it easier for developers and all other interested parties to access and pave the way to make the APIs more consumable? As you can see on this slide, we have logos of some of the top gateway vendors like AWS, Azure, Kong, Gravity, Broadcom. And these are just a few of the many gateways that organizations use to manage their APIs. The challenge with multiple gateways is that they result in multiple API catalogs, developer portals, and multiple points of interaction for consumers. This is where unified API catalogs come in. They provide this single API catalog and developer portal that includes all your APIs, no matter where they are executed. This means that the actual runtime the API is executed on is not important for the consumer. They can access all your APIs through one single point of interaction, and that's exactly how it should be. The goal of unified API catalogs is to provide a consistent interface, processes, and interaction model for all APIs, thereby improving the API consumption experience for your consumers. One key aspect of a unified API catalog is the unification of API-related information, such as API definitions, documentation, usage policies, and, for example, access control, whatever you can think of. And this helps ensure consistency and standardization across all APIs, making it easier for developers to understand how to use them. By decoupling the consuming side from the publishing side, unified API catalogs allow organizations to gain agility and flexibility in API management. With this unified approach, organizations can ensure that their APIs are easily discoverable, accessible, and consumable, and thereby unlocking their full business value. This concept of a unified API catalog fits perfectly with the use case we discussed in our previous webinar on moving to the cloud and federated API management. Like I said before when we started, as organizations transition towards multi-cloud and cross-platform environments, it becomes increasingly important to have this centralized and consistent approach. So, in short, a unified API catalog is a single centralized catalog that includes all your APIs, regardless of where they are executed, providing a consistent and seamless experience for your consumers. We've talked a lot about one part of this webinar now, but what about the second part actually, the governance? Again, we can ask ourselves a similar question to the one we started with, except now we're going a step further. What is the key to optimize the business value of APIs? And again, there is a simple answer to this. Make them more consistent. It's easy to secure, standardize, and govern and align with your goals. What does this mean? Well, governance of APIs is critical to unlocking the business value of your APIs for several reasons. First one, of course, security. You can ensure that your APIs are secure and protect sensitive information from unauthorized access. This helps to protect your organization's reputation and customer trust. Second, consistency. Governance can help ensure that your APIs are consistent and adhere to best practices, which can improve the overall user experience. And this, of course, can lead to higher adoption rates and better return on investment. Third one is align with your business goal. Because you want your APIs to be aligned with your overall business goals, ensuring that they support your business objectives. And this can help you maximize the value of your APIs again and drive innovation and growth in your organization. A very important point is compliance. Your organization may operate in a regulated industry, and governance can help you ensure that your APIs comply with industry-specific regulation and standards. This can help you basically avoid legal and financial consequences. Last but not least is the return on investment. We at APIIDA call it the return on API. Implementing governance can help you optimize the return on investment for your APIs by improving security, consistency, alignment with business goals, and compliance. This can help you get the most out of your APIs and drive value for your organization. So now we have 2 steps to unlock the full business value of your APIs. The first step to unlocking the business value of your APIs is to create an API catalog. We've heard about that. It's a comprehensive list of all your APIs along with their documentation, specification, and so on. And this catalog allows developers and partners to easily find and access the APIs they need. And by creating a centralized and easily accessible API catalog, you can make your APIs more discoverable and accessible. The next step is now to optimize the business value of your APIs through governance. It's a set of processes and practices that help you standardize, secure, and manage your APIs. And by governing your APIs, you can ensure that they are secure and reliable and that they align with your overall business goals. In addition, governance can help you ensure that your APIs are consistent and adhere to best practices and improve the overall user experience. So these 2 steps of creating a catalog and implementing governance are intended to work together. You cannot optimize what you did not unlock. And by combining these 2 steps, you can unlock the full business value of your APIs, providing you with a powerful tool for driving innovation and growth in your organization. But let's start from scratch basically. What is API governance? Just a quick recap. API governance refers to the processes, policies, and tools that are used to manage the lifecycle of APIs. And this includes tasks such as API design, API deployment, testing, and maintenance, as well as ensuring that APIs adhere to security and compliance standards. API governance helps to ensure that APIs are being used effectively, efficiently, and securely, and that they meet the needs of the organization. And I've brought some quotes here. Let's take a quick look at these. One, for example, is applying common rules of guardrails relating to API standards and security policies to your APIs. And these rules are applied through checks and validation. So it's basically exactly what I just said. And of course, there are specific goals to API governance. And in a recent webinar series, we also discussed these key goals. But again, let's do a quick recap. First goal is to avoid publishing bad APIs, of course. This means ensuring that APIs are secure, reliable, and maintainable, nothing else than that. And by implementing governance, you can ensure that your APIs meet your organization's quality standards. Second goal is to adhere to common standards and guidelines. Again, API governance helps enforce consistent and well-defined standards. And this can also help to reduce development time and costs. The third goal is to be compliant and aligned with your organization's goals. API governance helps you to ensure that, and this can help you, like I said before, avoid legal and financial consequences and ensure that your APIs drive value for your organization. It's important here to note that API governance is not a one-time activity, but a continuous process. As your organization evolves, your API requirements and standards will change, and you will need to continuously adapt and evolve your governance processes to keep up. By continuously implementing governance, you can ensure that your APIs remain compliant, align with your goals, and of high quality. Now that we know all about the Unified API Catalog and API governance, only one important question remains. How do these 2 elements play together? Well, the combination of the Unified API Catalog and governance results in a solution that prioritizes high consumability, high quality, and unified processes. The Unified API Catalog, with its single repository for all API-related information, makes it easy for consumers to find and adopt APIs. This ease of use, combined with standardized quality, results in APIs that are highly consumable. And at the same time, governance continuously assesses APIs for security and compliance, ensuring that only the highest quality APIs are published and used. This not only reduces risk for the organization, but it also provides a higher level of trust for your consumers. The decoupling of internal and external processes from technology means that governance processes are unified and easily adapted, providing a more flexible and evolving approach. In summary, the Unified API Catalog and governance work hand in hand to provide a solution that prioritizes high consumability, high quality and unified processes. This, combined with the continuous nature of governance, ensures that organizations can effectively manage the APIs, streamlining the development and deployment of new APIs, reducing risk, and again, improve overall user experience. But you may ask, what good is all this to me? The combination of a unified API catalog and governance has many benefits, including what we've seen in the last minutes. It especially helps to unlock business value of APIs. By making APIs easier to find, adopt, and use, organizations can unlock their full potential to drive business results. With a unified catalog and governance framework in place, APIs can be managed and monitored in a consistent, secure, and efficient manner, leading to higher levels of consumption and reuse. It also leads to an excellent user experience. A unified API catalog and governance framework ensures that consumers have access to up-to-date, clear, and standardized documentation. This makes it easier for them to find the APIs they need and start using them quickly. This, of course, leads to a better overall user experience, as developers can focus on delivering value rather than being bogged down by administrative overhead. And with a unified approach to API management, organizations have greater visibility into how their APIs are being used and can more effectively monitor and control their usage. This helps to minimize risk and ensure that APIs are being used in compliance with policies and standards. A unified API catalog and governance framework also streamlines internal and external processes, making it way easier for organizations to manage the APIs and ensuring that they are being used in a consistent and efficient manner. This can lead to increased productivity and reduced costs, as well as improved quality and security of APIs. And by constantly monitoring and assessing APIs for security and compliance, organizations can ensure that they are meeting their goals and adhering to policies and standards. This helps to reduce risk and build trust in the quality and security of your APIs. Last but not least, with a unified approach to API management and governance, organizations can increase the discoverability and trust in the APIs, leading to higher levels of adoption and reuse again. This can drive business results and help to create a more efficient and effective organization. So you may ask, okay, all this information pretty good, but where do I go from here? And as we have seen that a unified API catalog and governance are critical for managing APIs in an organization, we at APIIDA think it's essential to have an enterprise-wide API roadmap in place. You need an API strategy and an API roadmap that you can adhere to. And to help you dive deeper into this and to excel really, we have developed an API maturity assessment which can be found on our website. And of course, I talked about that at the start, we do have the APIIDA API control plane. So go and get your unified API catalog today. It's right there. You can start right now. It's easy to set up. It's self-service. There's no credit card or stuff like that required, and it's 30 days free. If you want more information in the future, we're going ahead with this webinar series of use cases for federated API management, and the next one will be available from March 1st, and we'll talk about branch shops and unified infrastructures. And if you would want to meet us in person, and we would really be happy to meet you in person, we will be at API Days in Dubai at February 22nd and 23rd. So thank you everyone for watching. And if you want more information, feel free to reach out via our website or email or LinkedIn. We're always happy to help.